Tree's Garage for episode 14 of the Turbo Tonner build. Last episode, you probably, if you've seen it, you should check it out anyway. We put the ute on E85 and turned the boost up, and now, as you can probably tell by the title, I want to put electronic boost control on it. There's a few reasons. Probably the main reason is with the new fuel and more boost is more power, and first, second, even the start of third gear is just a complete waste of time up on 12 pounds of boost with the tyre that I've got set up at the moment. I do think even increasing the tyre a little bit will probably still be a complete waste of time in first and second, so I really want that electronic boost control to be able to switch between boost settings. Another problem that I found was I'm actually suffering from a little bit of boost taper, so I'll do a pull and it'll sort of like boost up to 12 psi, and then as the RPM comes on above 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, it slowly starts tapering off, and I'll probably lose 1 to 1.5 pounds of boost from taper. So with the electronic boost control, it will adjust itself to hold that boost nice and even through the whole RPM range, which is going to make it feel a lot faster. So I actually went with a Go Fast Bits G-Force 2. The only reason why I chose it is because it's just one that came up on Facebook Marketplace second hand for a really good price. I ended up picking it up for $150, so we'll have a bit of a look and see what I got. I've already pulled the tonner into the shed. Nice clear day here. She's ready to go. Push the SS out and we're ready to go. So anyway, this is what I got. The Go Fast Bits G-Force 2. Retail for about $350 and I picked it up for $150. And old mate that I bought it off hasn't even pulled the plastic cover off the face yet. So that's pretty awesome. Comes with the Mac valve as well, which is electric solenoid that the head unit adjusts. We'll go through more of the details as we go along. The loom, bit of a T-piece and a few extras. He told me the reason why he sold it is he bought it for his car and then he went to increase the boost and then it's got a factory boost cut, so it became useless, so I ended up picking up a really good deal. Now it didn't come with instructions, so I just got online and printed out full instructions, really good instructions. I've read through that start to finish. Makes it real easy. And also I went and bought a momentary switch. This is going to be for the steering wheel, so mount this on the steering wheel so I can select through there's different strategies that you can use this for, but you can use it as a scramble boost, so when you press it you get an extra, whatever you set it up to, extra boost for a certain amount of time, whatever you want, or you can set it so you can just change through the 6 different boost settings that this allows you to have. So we'll go through that more as well as we go along. And yeah, so the first step I suppose will be to mount the head unit in a good place, the little face panel, and then we've got to find somewhere to mount this down near the turbo so we can run the vacuum lines to it. So yeah, we'll have a look. So after sitting in here and playing around with different places to mount this head unit, you don't have a lot of options. You want to be able to clearly see it because it's actually a boost gauge as well. So in the future, the current boost gauge that I got, I'll get rid of that, replace it with a different thing, probably oil temperature or something, but this actually shows your boost that you're currently running, just like a gauge. And then another cool feature it also does is it's like a peak hold, it's called. So after you do a run and then you drop back into vacuum, it'll actually flash your peak boost that you just hit for 3 seconds, which I reckon that's a pretty cool feature. Like after you have a pull, just look down at your gauge, you can see what maximum boost you just hit, which is another cool feature of this thing. So after ginning around and having a look around, I'm actually just going to go front and centre, right in the middle here. That screen that's in there, this isn't a fancy SS dash or anything like that, doesn't tell you anything too useful, that's for damn sure, so I'm happy to block that out of the way. And I'm going to mount it right in the middle there. Now old mate must have just glued it on the bottom. There's a bit of glue on there. I'm going to file that off clean, but there's no mounting screws or anything like that, so I'll end up getting some really good double-sided tape, and I might get a little bit of aluminium angle and mount it on here so that this is something real solid to double-sided tape to there. So what we'll do is we'll start by, I'll mark the centre here, so I've got it smack in the centre, and then I'm going to take this surround out. There's a couple of screws up here you undo, and this just pops out, and then we'll take it to the bench and sort it. With the piece out on the bench, you can see where I've just marked with a pencil the two little centre marks on the little display in the dash, so I can get this head unit of the boost controller mounted up in the centre, and then also marked the depth where I want it, so that line will line up with the back of the head unit. So this here is the size of the bracket that I want to mount to here, and I've just got the bit of this old aluminium I had up in the top shed. Got some hardware there, some little stainless M3 bolts, just so I can bolt this, a little piece of this, down to the top of that, and I'll give you a nice surface. Now you can see I've marked the width of the bottom part of the angle I want, and then I can use the full height because the head unit's higher. So with that, I'll just get set up, and I'll just use an angle grinder with the cut-off wheel and cut this up. Alright, we're set up outside the shed, so I don't have to get aluminium filings all through my shed just for this little bit of alley. We'll just grab the cut-off wheel. Yeah, I know I don't have a guard. I've had to put this grinder in places that the guard gets in the way, so I've been using grinders without guards for years. Nice thin blade helps. Whack some glasses and some earmuffs on, try and look after yourself a bit. Simple as that. Tidy up all the edges with the grinder. That's really hot at the moment. Okay, I tidied up that bracket. Just ran the grinder around the edges, and then I got some 600 wet and dry paper and just rubbed it up just so it looks tidy. Now I'm getting ready to mount it on here with a couple of little bolts. We've got that bracket temporarily pinned by these vice grips so I can get the drill in there and drill them. Just a couple of fixings. Pretty simple stuff. Couple of holes in there. Put some of these little tiny bolts in. Well, I got them two little M3 bolts in there. You can see I just put little stainless washers underneath, spread the load a bit. Pretty basic stuff. It's pretty tidy. You can see that the head unit will just get double-sided tape to the front there. So it's just a matter of, I just got some of this double-sided automotive tape. I'll put a couple of strips across there, maybe one across the bottom, and get that mounted. Also, what I'll have to do is put a bit of a relief for the wires down in this bottom corner here, so that the wires can just drop out the bottom. So I'll drill a little hole down there now, get the double-sided tape on, and get this thing mounted. You can see that hole there for the wires on the bottom of the headset, and I've got 4 strips of that double-sided tape ready to go. So now I'm ready to take the back layer off and squeeze this thing on. Okay, it's all stuck down. Pretty stoked with how it's turned out. Pretty basic stuff. You can see the wires going through the hole. Very easy. I've reinstalled the that fascia cover with the boost controller head unit on there. I'm really happy with it. Looks good, very easy to see. The wires just come down through the bottom here, ready to do the wiring. We'll do that soon. But the next step will be to mount the scramble button or the boost set button on the steering wheel. Now I'd really like it, you know, somewhere in this position here, so that when I'm steering my hand can still pass the button, so a little bit of a gap. And this button will have a couple of functions. You can use it as a scramble boost, so hold it and you get an extra few pounds of boost, whatever you set it to, or you can actually use it to scroll through the 6 different presets available in there. So 6-speed manual, you can have a boost level for each gear, and every time you change gears just bang the button and you get your next preset, so that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to put some sort of a bracket actually on this horn cover. There's a bit of a void in underneath the bottom here, plenty of room, so we might get a bit of aluminium angle up here and get this button mounted up here somewhere and try and do it as tidy as possible. Also want it in a spot where it's not in the way going straight of my boost gauge, so I think somewhere there would be good. So I'll pop this horn cover off and we'll have a bit of a look at what's in behind there. To get a horn cover off on one of these things, it's quite a pain. You got to take that bottom cover off. There's one screw up in the bottom that gets the bottom console cover off, and then in the back of the steering wheel there's 4 slots. You've got to get a screwdriver in there and lever the slots whilst holding the horn button out. It's going to be virtually impossible for me to film that with the angles and the light and everything, so not that hard. You've got to turn the wheel so the wheel's facing downwards. There's 2 on the back this side and 2 on the back that side, then you flip the wheel the other 180 the other way. In these 2 holes here, you can see those 2 square holes. There's little tabs. Screwdriver in and lever them in and it'll pop your horn cover off. I decided before I take that horn cover off I'd actually make the bracket so I can sort of play around with length and stuff with that horn cover still on. So I just found this bit of aluminium box scrap that I had. It's a bit longer at the top, so it'll work out well. Now I've just measured the width of the switch because I want the bracket to be as thin as possible, so it's the same width. I'm going to leave it nice and long so I can, once it's on the steering wheel, I can figure out how far out I'm going to actually mount it. So I'm not going to bore you with cutting this again, so I'll cut this out exactly the same as that other bracket. I'll cut it out, smooth around the edges and sand it up with a bit of 600 wet to make it look tidy, and I'll come back. Okay, I cut that bracket up, pretty basic, left it long at the top and just gave it a quick sand. I'll give it more of a sand to tidy it right up once I've finished cutting it and drilling it. So now I just want to sort of position it roughly where it's going to go. I want to put it over here somewhere so that then I can figure out exactly where and how far out the button will be situated to clear, so I can put a mark on how far out and how long it's going to be, and then I can put a mark exactly how far out, and then I'll cut it around the top to follow around the top of the button so that there's no sharp edges. And then also I'll mark on the horn cover where it's going to be located so that I know exactly where to mount it. So pretty hard to do it with one hand, but you get the picture. Sharpie, mark it, mark the center, and we'll go and trim it up. Okay, I went and drilled the hole for the switch to fit through. That's the distance I've decided on. Sort of marked where my hand clearance needs and how far my thumb can reach over, and roughly that's where I'm looking at. So it's not too hung out. So I've drilled the hole, had to spiral that switch in through it, and then you can see I've marked with the Sharpie around the outside of the switch, and now I'm going to go and cut that around there, and also marked a couple of possibilities on top of the horn where I want that to sit, but I'll cut this off first because it's fouling on the wheel, and then come back and double check before I make the final decision. Okay, I've got the hole drilled, cut around the top to follow the button, and gave it a really good sand just to tidy up the finish of it. Also got my marks there. I'm going to use my second mark. So now we can jump back to actually taking that horn cover off like I showed you before, and we can start getting this bracket mounted to the horn cover. Okay, here's the horn cover out on the bench. Have a bit of a look. That second Nico mark is where I'm going to put it. But what I'm going to do is actually drill a series of holes through there so I can poke this up through the slot, and this ugly part of the bracket will actually be underneath. So it's a matter of, I'm going to trim that webbing out and then the bracket will poke up. So I'll just get a drill bit the same width as this and drill a series of holes there so I can pull it up through. Then I can just put a couple of nice little bolts in there so it's not some big ugly piece of aluminium just hanging on the top of my steering wheel. All I did was just get the drill and drill a series of holes along my line and just chew it out a bit. Got the knife in there, cut the slot out. So now you can see I've just got a little, what seems pretty rough, little slot in there. There was also a bit of webbing that was in the back there. That was in there. I just grabbed the knife and cut that out so that now I can just get my bracket and slide it up in there. It sits in behind there, and yeah, you can see pretty tidy. It just sits in there nice. Now I'm going to probably just a couple of those little stainless fixings again, little 3mm. 2 of them hidden in there just to clamp that on there real nice. So I'll mark them and drill them and bolt it down. Okay, I've got the horn cover back on. You can see where my 2 little bolts went through the back there. Switch is in, the nut's on. This part of the cable will just drape down once all the wiring's done so you can still turn the wheel. Horn still works. Then you can hit the scramble boost, whatever. Horn doesn't work. It moves around a little bit because I cut that brace out, but perfect. Still easily get your hand around just in case a bit of wheeling has to happen. Overall, yeah, pretty stoked with how that part has turned out. Now we'll have to move on to mounting that solenoid. Righto, time to install the valve, the solenoid. And on our setup, straight back to the instructions, external wastegate style. You can see that I have to put the T in this line that I currently have. Now my bleed valve currently sits in this position between here. So supplied T, which is this Goldie here, in here, and then a couple of lines, mount that. So you can see, oh, the light's not great, but there's my bleed valve, there's my turbo, and then the wastegate, there's the top one that at the moment's left open, and there's another one just below it that the vacuum line goes to. So what I'll do, I've been playing around with different places to mount it, and there's these old hose clips from when the overflow bottle used to be over here, and I was thinking maybe some double-sided tape behind the valve and just clip that into there and mount it just in here on the back of the fan shroud, and then the wiring loom can just come over to this factory wiring loom here and work its way inside, so it looks like it'd probably be a pretty clean place to mount it. So I'll put that in there and run a couple of hoses, bit of double-sided tape, a couple of zip ties, and I'll show you how it looks once it's installed. Okay, you can see where we've mounted that solenoid. Pretty good spot. There's a bit of double-sided tape in behind there as well. Hoses nicely zip tied in. Another zip tie here, you know, a bit of strategic zip tying. And you can see where the T goes to the bottom line between the bottom of the wastegate, and the other line goes to the top of the wastegate there, all zip tied in. And also you can see where the wiring loom goes in and across, and it follows the factory loom, follows it all the way back in around here, and I've got it to go through the factory grommet as well. There's a bit of effort to do that, but I think it's worth it. So now we've got to head inside and do some wiring to get this running. We ran those wires through the firewall through that grommet in under the dash here, and you can see where I've just on that red joint there, I've joined and heat shrunk some joiner wires to them because I had to make them longer, and they run along down under the back of the center console. And you can also see that T-piece there, that's actually the boost gauge vacuum hose for the original boost gauge. Now I could have just unplugged it, but I wanted the gauge still to work for the time being until I get a new one, so I just put a T in it. This also goes down and under over to the other side. Now I'll go around the other side. Now we're around on the driver's side. I can show you those two red wires there, the ones that come around from the other side and hook back into the solenoid wires to the headpiece. Now the headpiece is up there obviously, and the wires come down through here behind there, and you can actually just see the plug there from the headpiece. So the earth is right there. You can see where I put earth to a factory bolt. This is the switched power wire, so it's ignition switched, and I got that. This car's not power windows, but there's a power windows plug still there from factory, so I tapped into there, heat shrunk, solder. So, and then the blue wire coming out of that plug is the one for the dash switch, which you can see I've coiled up there. Sorry for the camera angles and shaking around, it's pretty hard. And you can see that I've soldered it in there into the wire, and I've used the earth to that factory switch, to the dash switch. It's the same as, if it'll focus, this factory one here right there. So it's already an earth there, so the earth for that switch is there, and then the blue wire is soldered into the white wire onto the button. Put a big zip tie on it just to support it, because this thing here is going to coil up around the steering wheel when I go full lock. And also I had to put it through before I soldered it. So yeah, a bit of stuffing around with the soldering, and oh, you can also see the vacuum line there too goes up, and it goes up into there, hooks into that factory, the boost controller, the line there too. So it's all hooked up. So I'll put all these center console parts and all these dash panels back together, and focus, it'll be finished. Okay, it's getting dark, but we have been out playing with it. I've got my buddy Chris with me again helping me, and we've been playing with the settings, and I've currently got the buttons set up so that it chooses the next boost setting. So currently, if we go back to preset number 1, it's about 3.5 pounds of boost. Preset number 2 has been giving us, I think, about, what was it, 8 pounds of boost or something? And then, oh sorry, yeah, about 8 pounds, and then preset 3, 10 pounds of boost. And then we've got preset 4 there, but the problem we're having is that we're actually reaching 100% duty cycle on the boost controller, so that tells us that the wastegate spring is too short. But what we'll do is we'll go for a drive and just give you a bit of a drive to see what it's like going through the bits and pieces. Yeah, righto, we're going to slow down and do a bit of a pull from first, and I'm going to go through the settings. So I've got to make sure I'm on preset number 1, which is our lowest boost in each gear. I'll click for the next amount of boost to try and make this thing hook up a bit. So I know first is only about 3.5 pounds, but we'll soon see. I think it helped. I think the first one only saw 3 pounds, and then I think 7 pounds, and then, but yeah, compared to just trying to launch this thing on 12 pounds like before, it's definitely helping. So it's definitely doing its job pretty good, but it's just still so loose. Far out, like even top of third gear, it just wanted to. Yeah, this next hit, we're going to try and start in the second, on preset second, because first gear is just a complete waste. So we'll try and rip from second gear around here, and then I'll click through, see how we go.
I can't watch that gauge and steer. It's just spinning and tramping like crazy. But yeah, you get the point. It's actually pretty fun to use. Pretty stoked with it. Looks good, that's for sure.
We just got back from giving her a bit of a test run, and you know it's fun to use. I'll have to say, and it does help with traction. We haven't played with the gain part of the boost controller, which helps build boost faster. Being a relatively small turbo, it builds boost pretty quick, so we haven't played with that yet, and I haven't played with the sensitivity yet either. It seems to be working really well on zero. And the sensitivity normally it chases the boost, you know what I mean? If you fall off, it will pick it back up and try and give you a nice solid boost curve. So at 100% duty cycle on the new boost controller, we're seeing just under 10 pounds, which makes sense because I can remember only putting a 4-pound wastegate spring in it, and most of the time boost control all you can do is double what your spring does. So before with the other bleed off valve, and we must have been spiking to about 12 pound, and I did notice it was tapering off, and it was tapering down to just on 10 pounds. So that sort of solves that issue. So I do have another couple of wastegate springs, and I'm going to give it a go the next one up, probably a 7-pound one. That'll be really good. And then also I'll be able to, you know, play with the controller more, play with that gain, play with the sensitivity, and really make the most of it. But I'm really impressed with it. It works really well, changing through the gears and clicking the button and everything like that. Yeah, that's awesome. It's good fun. So I don't know, if you enjoyed the video, like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and if you want to be notified when the next video is, hit the little bell. And you know, I'd just like to say thank you to all my subscribers, because they are starting to build, which is good. And I love the comments and all that too, so keep it all coming. I love it. Motivates me to do more, and hopefully you watching me do work on my cars motivates you to go and do work on your cars. So that's the whole point of it. So yeah, have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one.